So, like, no, of course I'm not going to accept the antecedent as true.
When you make,
But,
sorry, when you
I
make
can
material
engage with it
conditional,
as, like, a hypothetical.
wait, what do you mean when you make a material conditional, you have to accept the antecedent? What do you mean by that?
Well, you don't necessarily have to accept the antecedent. You could deny the conclusion as well. But what I'm stipulating is if you're, or what I'm kind of trying to say is that if you say like, well, if you're an agent who like believes that it's like morally permissible to like
Mhm.
rape children, or let's just say like you value like raping children, right?
Yeah,
Then like it's going to be morally permissible like relative to that agent, right? um you can like you can then go like, okay, well, let's just like reason with what's true about this, right? Well, you can say like, well, it is the case that I'm an agent who thinks that it um it's, I don't even like saying that, that values like raping children, right? But obviously, like, I'm not going to accept that proposition as true. I can reason with it on a hypothetical basis, but I'm
yeah.
probably just going to like distinct that from who I actually am in the real world,
But
right?
it's is
Because
it
like
logically
obviously
possible?
that
Is it logically
what's that?
possible you could have that preference?
Of course it's logically possible.
Okay, so the question is, in the possible world where you have that preference, is it okay to rape children?
Under that agent's view, yes, but like obviously that
No, but
agent is distinct from me. Like
that's not.
you're saying you're here, but I'm not really sure like that, we can meaningfully say that I'm the same agent in a different possible world. Especially where such a characteristic, such a strong characteristic is present.
Do you think there's a contradiction though in that being you?
Um, um Maybe some sort of like like some sort of like composition error, maybe. Yeah.
Also, wait, I do want to clarify. Like, Leo, your reasons for pointing to this is supposed to point to a virtue of moral realism. Um, but even on the best account, or at least the most recent account of moral realism we got, where you have a set of actions that you kind of just label as elements instead of your concept of wrongness. Um, Even that is subject to the same sort of modal contrast, where you could just
Yeah.
stipulate, okay, well, what if the elements were different, such that
And I say
later.
that the wait, what, and
Right, right.
what if I say that the elements are necessary? What happens again?
But if you say that, well, okay, that's where my critique went in, where you kind of just
Define
defined
them.
your, yeah, you just made your set necessary, like you just kind of defined it that way, in which an
Yeah.
anti-realist still doesn't disagree.
Okay. Oh, you're saying that if it's the case that X being wrong is analytically true, then
Yeah,
it's just a case that the anti that's just not meaningful. Like the
yeah,
anti-realist.
exactly.
I mean,
Well,
analytic
not
truths are
not
generally
that it's
not.
not meaningful, but just that it doesn't escape any critiques that you're levying onto the anti-realist.
Why again?
Oh, because the anti-realist grants that there's this guy on Discord named Leo who, in its concept of wrongness, he has a set, it's like a set definition. So, like the example I gave with chairs, where like maybe my definition of a chair is just like an exhaustive set, where all the things that I would call a chair are elements in that set. The
Mhm.
anti-realist just trivially is going to grant that there's this guy named Leo who does that with moral facts and labels them wrong.
But what they're saying is that they're saying that that's not true for most people, or
No, there's. I mean, if I understand your question, they're saying that's true for like everyone.
so
Well,
that
like
every,
the thing that you're doing on my view and then later Axew's view is like, okay, well, what if your preferences were different? Well, then I
mhm.
mean, the anti-realist could just say, well, what if your concept was such that the elements in your set were different?
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I think that's a good critique. That's
Yeah,
why. Okay, I guess that's the issue
like
with
Right.
defining
They could
at this
just
point,
defining.
stipulate. They
I'm
could
not.
just
At this point, I
stipulate.
just want to be clear. At this point, I'm not trying to like motivate you to one side or the other. I just don't. I just really don't want you to give critiques on an anti-realist that is also true of a realist view.
And
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I think to outline that fully, you could just stipulate a possible world in which, you're this guy named Leo on Discord who just says that like one of the concepts within what it means for something to be like, or we could just say that like you know, raping children for fun is like not a concept that exists in your like understanding or set of wrong things in
Yeah,
this possible world.
yeah, yeah. I agree. It seems to fall victim to the same hill, but I do disagree with you. I think actually you were saying that you think subjectivists can avoid dying on the hill. I still don't agree with that. I think that they have to die on the hill.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either.
Well, I think they can die on the hill, but I still think that they can they can still explain that behavior, even like distinct their identity from the sort
I
of
don't
like
think, I don't think
identity
they,
that you're positing.
I don't think they
Because I
can.
don't even know that you can meaningfully say that someone is them when you take away like that sort of trait,
Like,
right?
is it possible that right now, as you're talking to me, you just have this subconscious preference to do these really bad things? Like that's plausible in this world.
Yeah, of course. Of course that's possible in this world.
Yeah, so that's obviously you.
Yeah, of
Um,
course, of course.
and if
Okay, I feel like this would come down to some theory of identity, honestly.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that a subjectivist could be a nihilist about personal identity or something, and then I mean, well, even if you're a nihilist, so I mean, even if you're a nihilist about personal identity, presumably it's possible that nihilism about personal identity is false, and in that world, would it be the case it's permissible? Then you probably have to still die in the hell.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I think this just comes down to like you can metaphysically stipulate that child rape is like morally permissible in any given possible world. Well, not any
Yeah,
given possible. Yeah,
because
any
then
given
recently,
possible world under those conditions.
like I think so. This works really well with mathematics. Like there are mathematical truths that seem necessarily true. And I think wait, so Lucario, what about in those cases? So mathematical truths are true by definition, but they're also necessary, right?
Well, I mean, the sort of credence that I have for my preference on, and this is pretty biased. It's pretty anecdotal, but my personal credences on the fact that I find rape wrong are pretty tantamount to my credences of me like misreading my algebra intro book. Like maybe I misread some formula or something, um, and then it turns out that a whole bunch of my mathematical beliefs they could be false, because maybe I just read them wrong. They're pretty similar with respect to my credences. So if you're gonna ask me, well, Lucario, is it possible, or Lucario, you agree that there's these mathematical truths that are necessary? Well, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're necessary, but with like a tantamount credence level that I have for my it's necessary that I believe rape is wrong, or maybe not
Wait,
necessary, but like
what?
the fact that it's true that I believe rape is undesirable in my view.
Yeah, so I don't understand. Maybe I could just ask yes or no's to clarify more. Wait, you hold the view that mathematical truths are both analytically and necessarily true, right?
Yeah, I
Like
held that
two
view.
plus two equaling four. Okay. Um, why can't and wait? What's the issue with moral truths being the same again?
The issue with that is that in order to get to the moral truths being necessary, it took a very semantic route in which an anti-realist agrees with your semantic process of asserting that the moral truths are necessary. Like
Oh,
I'll just run a very similar process that you did. So Leo, you believe in your exhaustive set of what is wrong. Rape is in that set, right?
yeah.
And you're very sure about this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that you're wrong about that? Like, is it possible that your concept actually doesn't include that element, and
Um.
you just didn't reflect on it enough?
Okay. What if I say no? It's not possible, and then
Well,
I give the inductive case for it being not possible.
you can give an inductive case for it being not possible. It's just the inductive case wouldn't go through.
Okay.
Like like the inductive case is just gonna like like reduce the inductive power of your your proposition that it's false. But I'm just saying that it's like infinitesimally small, like a very 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 small
Okay. Yeah.
credence level.
It seems like what you're saying is that um is this fair to say that it's just very obvious that mathematical truths are analytic and necessary, and that's just not the case with moral truths? Is that what you're saying?
That's not entirely what I'm saying. I'm just saying that um, my credence levels for the true mathematical propositions, those are very comparable to the credence I have for both. There's two things that they're comparable to. One of them is the fact that I find rape unpreferable, and then the fact that your concept of rape actually is an element in your in sort of your concept of rape, like that
Wait,
set that you have for the concept.
You mean
but you don't think any of those two things are necessary?
I think like you can believe they're necessary, but you could be wrong about them. Like I believe that 1 + 1 = 2 is necessary, and I could be wrong about that. And I believe that
No, I'm not. No, I'm not asking if. I'm asking, do you think 2 + 2 = 4 is necessarily true?
I believe it's necessarily true. Yeah,
But is it necessarily true?
I believe it's necessarily true.
I'm not asking you that.
Wait, okay, you're asking me. Okay, you're asking me, is it necessarily true? And then I tell you that I believe it is necessarily true, and that I could be wrong about it.
You
Is
could
there
be
something?
wrong.
Okay, if I
Wait,
were to
when,
say yes, if I were to give two answers, one of them, yes, it's necessarily true, and then another one, yes, I believe that it's necessarily true. Do you find those answers different at all?
no, but then on top of that, you said something like you could have the wrong belief.
Yes.
So that means it's
Okay,
logically. If it's
I can
logically
add that.
possible, the belief is false, then that's just to say that it's logically possible the proposition is false. No.
Yeah. No, I agree that it's possible that I'm false about it.
So it's possible that 2 + 2 isn't 4.
Yeah,
No.
it's like it's
What?
possible that I'm wrong about that. Like it
Wait,
could
well,
be like it might actually be the case that it's necessarily true that 2 + 2 = 5. For
wait,
all that I know.
so you don't think it's necessary that 2 + 2 is 4 because you're saying it's possible it could be 5.
No, I believe it's necessary.
Okay. You just said
No,
it could
is
be
it possible?
5.
Okay, am I
Can I just
am I missing something here, Leo? Have you have you ever looked into like credences?
No.
Oh, okay, that explains kind of a lot. So, um, basically, like when we're looking at credences, you can kind of imagine it as sorts of like degrees of belief, right? And so like you can look at things usually through like an evidentiary like gathering lens where you can look around and observe the world
Wait,
and gather
you just
evidence for
mean prior? Are
something.
you just talking about
What's that?
prior probability? Are you just talking about prior
Well,
probability?
you could definitely use prior probability to
Oh,
justify
okay,
the
then I
credences. There are
understand.
other things that you could use to motivate credences as well, but
Oh,
that's
okay,
going to be
so
like a really common one that'll motivate
oh,
like.
Lucario, are you just saying that it's very probable that it's necessary?
it's very, very probable that it's necessary with
Oh,
respect to
why would you? Okay, then I don't know. You didn't have to say that it's possible it could be 5.
Well, that's implied from saying that it's very, very okay.
I
like
don't know if I agree.
I believe that it's impossible. I believe that it's impossible that 2 + 2 = 5. I believe that's impossible, and I could be wrong.
Is it possible that's? But like, if I'm asking, if for me to ask you, is it possible that's possible? It's just to ask you if it's possible. It's like
Okay,
you could.
I'll try to give like
You,
one more. I'll try to give like one more example to articulate it. I believe that 569 multiplied by 894. I believe that it's necessarily the case that that equates to 508,686.
mm-hmm.
I believe that's necessary.
Okay.
Could I be wrong about it? Yes, because the
Wait,
process that I used to get there is like it's pretty flawed.
wait,
That does
wait.
not take
So just to be, wait, I want to be clear here. You're saying that it's possible that it's not necessary, right?
holy shit. With respect, okay, you kind of have to separate two things, like my credences, and the fact that, or in the sense that, are my credences absolute? No, and then my credences tell me that it's necessary.
Wait, did you or did you not say that 2 + 2 could equal 5?
I didn't say that. If you're talking about my beliefs, I don't believe that it's possible. But could I be wrong in the fact that it's possible, or that it's not possible? Could I be wrong about its modal properties? Yeah, I could be wrong about its modal properties. Like this is
Okay, wait.
just a
Let's
separation. This is just a
unpack.
level 1 separation of like epistemic modality with respect to like other modalities.
So wait, you're saying it's possible you are wrong that 2 + 2 is 4, right?
Yeah, there's a different notion of modalities here. Have you like read anything on epistemic? Are you familiar with the concept of epistemic modality?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it's possible in the epistemic modality. Now, if you explore my epistemic domain, in that domain, it's necessary. I believe it's necessary. I know that it's necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, so when you say it's okay, maybe I'll just make it clear. Is it logically possible that you're wrong that 2 + 2 = 4?
No, it's not logically possible.
That
Because
2
you're
+ 2.
asking within the epistemic domain, it's not like if you're exploring my epistemic domain, then no, it's not logically possible. Now, is my epistemic domain?
Sorry, you cut out.
And so just because you change the modal operator in the epistemic modality, that does not mean that you're changing any modal operators in my epistemic domain.
Okay. Sorry, you kind of cut out there. So
Okay,
you're
so just
saying
one more
that
time. One more
when you
time.
say it's possible, sorry, I just want to be clear here. When you say it's possible that you're wrong that 2 + 2 = 4, possible is not, you're not saying it's logically possible, right?
Okay, you can ask me the question with regards to my beliefs, and my belief is that it's necessary, that 2 + 2 = 4.
I think he's saying it's not logically possible with respect to his like epistemic domain.
Yes.
Is it logically possible absent that?
It's in my epistemic domain. I'm not going to make reports on things outside of my epistemic domain.
So you're agnostic?
What? I said I'm not going to make reports.
So you're
Are
going to
you
dodge
slow?
the question? Wait, just to be clear, when you say you're not going to make reports, are you saying that there is not a fact of the matter? Are you saying that you're
I'm so
agnostic on the
sorry.
proposition?
I think you're
Leo, wait,
confused
stop,
about what
no,
an
no, stop,
epistemic domain is.
man. No, stop.
I'm
Leo,
just gonna screw
I'm
up.
very sorry. I see the issue now. Let me tell you something that I believe, and then that belief is outside of my epistemic domain. Yeah, let me do that.
That's not the question. Holy fuck, that's not the question I'm asking you. Look, okay.
Yeah,
Is it necessary that 2 + 2 = 4? I'm not asking is it necessary for you to believe that. Just answer the question. Is it necessary that 2 + 2 = 4?
never said that I necessarily believe that.
What? I'm not asking yes or no, is it necessary that 2 + 2 = 4?
Are you asking within my
And,
epistemic domain?
and necessary is being used under the logical modoscope.
Okay, under the logical modoscope, which my understanding of logical necessity, my beliefs towards it, and the true statements that I'm going to offer you, those all fall under the epistemic domain, right? Or wrong? Was I wrong about that?
I don't think a question actually answers a question. Maybe you're unfamiliar with how to answer questions.
No, I
Generally,
need
I
to
don't
yes
clarify.
think he
or no.
I
knows
need to
what an
clarify the
epistemic
That's
modality.
not a
domain is.
clarifying. That's
I
not a
don't
I'm
think he
sorry. I
knows
might have
what
to
an
hear it
epistemic
multiple
domain
You
is.
don't know what a
I
clarifying
thought finally,
question is.
I was gonna have a conversation with Leo on recording where it doesn't get like super
You
rhetorical.
know.
And I blow him the fuck out on a very basic point. I was hoping to have finally
I
a
just want a
recorded
yes or
closing
no. Is it
conversation.
logically possible?
Leo,
Just say yes.
Leo,
Just say it's not
Leo,
logically
Leo.
possible, and then we're
What,
done. Just say
Leo,
it's
what?
logically necessary. I'm
Stupid.
just say it's logically necessary, and we're done.
It's
That's the
not
only thing I'm
necessary.
interested in.
Okay, Leo,
Is
what is
it
an
logically
epistemic
necessary?
domain? Leo. What is an
No, I'm not
epistemic
gonna.
domain?
I'm not.
No. Answer the question. Answer the question, because
Why
I
would I
think you're
entertain
really
a dodge?
confused. No, because you seem really confused right now
That
about
doesn't
like.
explain to me why I would entertain a dodge. Okay, just yes or no. Is it logically possible, Lucario? Just yes or no.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if I want to
Yes
try
or
this
no?
one more time.
What the fuck?
I'll
Just
try.
answer the question.
Wait,
Yes or
do
no?
you
Is it
agree?
logically possible?
Do you agree? I don't know the question. Is it
You don't know
fine
the
if I ask
question?
the
You don't
question?
understand what I mean by the
No,
question?
I don't know the modality, idiot.
I said it's logical modality. Is it logically possible that 2 + 2 isn't 4?
What do you think my answer to that is?
I don't know.
You don't know, even though I
Reluctant to
answered this
answer.
question. Wait,
You've been
stop,
Holy
reluctant
shit!
to
wait,
answer the
stop,
question.
idiot. Even
You're
though
still
I've
not
answered the
answering the question.
question,
It's been 2
even
minutes
though
and
I've
you haven't
answered
answered a yes or no question.
I've answered the question multiple times. I just want to see if you even remember the answer that I gave last time. Do you remember what it was last time?
Yeah, you said that you don't believe that it's logically possible.
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible that your belief is false?
Well, wow, I've never pondered this question before. Yo, Axew, can I go to you?
I'm not sure what's with the rhetoric here. Look, I'm just trying to ask a question here. I think that there could be some
I hope
issues.
you
I
look back
think that
on the
there could be.
recording and think,
Look, I think that there
one day,
could.
Leo, one day you're gonna look back on the recording and think, wow, I looked really stupid in this conversation.
Okay. I might just write the questions out for you because you're just being autistic right now.
That is not
So
what
you
is
said
happening here.
you said it's logically, okay. You believe it's logically necessary.
Like, I understand I don't get that many views, but like Leo, you don't have to clip farm for me, okay? You don't have to pretend to be really stupid for views. Like you can drop the act, man.
Also, the claim that you're writing out right now literally answers your question.
Okay, just hold on. Okay. You believe it's logically necessary 2 + 2 = 4, correct? Yes or no?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't believe it's logically necessary 2 + 2 is 4.
No, I'm trolling.
Okay. So you believe it's logically necessary 2 + 2 is 4. And do you believe that, do you think it's possible that that belief is false?
Yeah, it's like epistemically possible. Wait. Actually,
Is it
oh shit!
logically
The game.
possible
Wait,
that that
stop.
belief
I
is
actually
false?
gave him away. Holy shit. Okay, when you ask that question, what modality are you going under?
Is it logically possible your belief is false?
It's logically impossible that my belief is false.
It's logically impossible your belief is false?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you say that 2 + 2 could be 4, you weren't using a logical modal scope?
Holy shit.
Oh wow. Welcome back to the conversation, Leo. How's
Yeah,
your trip?
so this is like an insane blunder on your end. Obviously, I was
No,
talking about a
this was
logical.
explained to you earlier.
Obviously, I was talking about a logical modality. I'm not sure
And multiple times
why you
Lucario
invoked the epistemic
clarified.
modality when I wasn't
Hold on.
even talking about that. I was just trying to be charitable here and assume that you weren't actually just presupposing a certain modal scope that I didn't even ask you to answer the question with. I was asking in a logical modality, obviously.
You're
And
trivially going to answer
so
questions
now what's
with your
going to happen
epistemic
here is
domain. This is actually fucking
when you
stupid.
ask me, is it
Leo,
possible that 2 +
stop
2 is
clip
4? I'm just going
farming
to use a
yourself, dude.
deontic modality, right? And
This
I'm
is
just going to say
actually
that it's
so bad, Leo.
actually amoral. That's what I'm going to do. So just nice job not answering the question. So, but now since you have answered the question, A, it's logically impossible. Sorry, it's logically necessary 2 + 2 is 4, and it's also not logically possible your belief is false. That's all I was asking you. I'm not sure why you ran to the epistemic. Why you ran to epistemic modality? I didn't ask you to do that, but now
Like,
since
yeah,
you're
well,
actually able to like follow
well, I
basic
didn't run
tasks.
to it after you asked me. I was just reporting that, there's actually the sense in which I could be wrong. And that's why I started talking about credence levels. Before we ever talked about any modalities, we were talking about credence levels. And then it was in those credence levels that introduced the concept of an epistemic modality. The
I wasn't
concept of
interested in
epistemic,
that.
stop, idiot. The
I
concept
wasn't
of an
interested
epistemic
in that.
modality, shut up, idiot.
Uh, uh,
The
uh,
concept, stop, yeah. What are you doing? Bro, you sound nervous as hell when you do that. Just please stop. It's cringe. But yeah, the concept of epistemic modality was introduced in the conversation prior to us specifically diving into modalities of the propositions. And so when you say, "Oh, I don't know why you ran to epistemic modality," the reason why I ran, like quote unquote, ran to it is because it was already introduced, and I was clarifying to you what I was talking about because you couldn't track the conversation. You're slow. Now I'm gonna unmute you. You can talk now.
Okay, yeah. So I like the fact that you answered a question that I didn't ask you. That's amazing. But now since you're finally capable, now you actually are capable at this moment to answer the question, and you did very good. It's good that you're able to follow instructions. Unfortunately, you weren't able to follow instructions. You actually answered a question I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you if it was epistemically possible, retard. I asked you if it was logically possible. I'm not sure why you answered a question I didn't ask you, but I mean, maybe you're like schizophrenic or something. Do you want to try answering other questions I didn't ask you?
Sorry, there's like one
Leo,
tiny
do you
setting.
remember? Leo, do you remember the explanation that Lucario gave regarding his credences and mathematical truths?
Vaguely, yeah.
Okay, that was the introduction of the the epistemic modality. And so you're
Okay.
asking of that question earlier literally introduced that. And so for you to sit here and say like, well, you
I didn't mean could
what's that?
I wasn't using could in an epistemic sense. I was using it in a logical sense. That's what I meant by the term could. So
Well, thank you
obviously
so
that's true. So it's obvious you didn't answer the question. Or sorry, that you answered the question wrong because you didn't understand the question.
Yeah, you fucked up.
This is like rejecting that you can answer questions through credences rather than absolute truth values. This is actually fucking ridiculous.
Wait. Which question? Wait, when I said, Lucario, is it possible your belief is false? What do you think I meant by possible there?
Possible.
Presumably, it's the same sense. Presumably, and just hoping that you have enough social cue awareness to understand this. Presumably, it would be under the same modality that I used to initially assert the claim. Like I asserted the claim before you asked the question.
I was asking it in a logical sense.
Yeah. Well, thank you for clarifying. That didn't respond to what I
Okay,
just said.
so you just didn't answer the question I asked you. That's fine.
No,
Like, I
but
don't
I just
know.
what you just agreed to is that if you had social cue awareness, it would have been under the same modality in which I initially made the assertion. And I'll just repeat it for you. I'll repeat how the conversation went thus far. I said that I believe that it's logically necessary that 1 + 2 = 4, but I could be wrong about that. You later
Mhm.
asked me, is it the case that you believe that 1 + 2 = 4 is necessary and that you could be wrong about that? My answer was yes, in the same modality of which I initially asserted that
Okay,
proposition.
that's just not what I was asking, but it's fine.
Yeah, I know, and you lost on social key awareness. I agree.
Okay, so you didn't answer my question properly. It's fine, whatever.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree that somebody. This is
wait,
like
are you
unironically the same thing I did with Hyde. Like I agree that I didn't answer your question because your question locked on social cue awareness.
okay? Whatever. Let's
Thank
just
you for repeating it. Do you want to repeat
okay.
it again? Like you seem to want to repeat it a lot. Go ahead and repeat it one more time.
Okay. So you're saying that it's epistemically possible. It's epistemically possible, but not logically possible. The belief is false, right?
And then you feel the need to ask it one more time.
Wait,
Like, what do you
oh,
think
that's
the answer
actually
is
I
gonna
haven't even asked you this question.
Okay,
Just
The
repeat
answer to
repeat
that
the question.
question is implicit.
Repeat the question you just asked.
yeah, is it logically so it's not logically possible, but it's epistemically possible, right?
Yeah, and you're asking for
Okay.
confirmation on the belief,
Oh,
right? That's what you're asking.
mhm.
Confirmation on my beliefs, right?
What? No, the question I'm asking is, yeah, is it possible that the belief could be false? I'm asking. I understand that's logically possible. Sorry, logically impossible, but it's epistemically possible. Correct?
And you
Just yes
wanted
or no.
clarification, and then you wanted me to unironically say yes to you one more time after that entire
I just
conversation.
wanted
You
to.
wanted me, yeah,
Okay.
you wanted clarity once more. Here, let's go for it once more. The answer is yes. Now go. Let's
Okay.
go 2 more times. Let's
Yeah.
ask
So
it 2 more.
I mean, look, I'm not well versed in epistemic modality, but I
Weird.
was under the impression. Stop talking. I was under the impression that logical modality was like the largest modal scope. Are you saying that it's not the largest modal scope, and there are propositions that aren't logically possible, but they are epistemically possible? Because I
I
understood that
take it.
if something's possible in a given modality, then an entailment of that is just that it's possible in a logical modality.
I take it to be that there are different metrics in which you could quantify the scope of a modal system. Or sorry, not modal system, of a modality.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, maybe let's just talk about epistemic modality. So I'll tell you what my belief is.
We not?
I hold
I
that.
kind of don't want to do that.
Stop talking.
Also
So I
modal
hold.
system works there. They use modal system in their semantics to describe what you're talking about.
Yeah, all I'm saying here is
I was talking to Lucario.
okay. I just hold the belief that
We had
if
to
something is
clarify that for it because he clearly lacks on social
stop
key awareness.
talking. All
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying is that stop. All I'm saying is that if something is possible in a given modality, that an entailment of that is it's logically possible. That's how I understand modality. Now, if you're saying that's false, I would love to talk about this. I'm actually unacquainted with the concept of there being propositions true in a given modality.
Did
But
I say that it was
false.
false?
Sorry, being possible in a given
I think
modality,
you're
but
false.
being impossible in a logical modality. So I'd love to talk about that. So you hold the view that there are modalities where propositions can be possible, despite the fact that they're impossible in a logical modality. Let's talk about that. So you're
Yeah.
saying that
Okay.
epistemic
Let's stop
modality is that modality, correct?
You just repeat that.
Yeah, you're saying that epistemic modality is one of those modalities. Is that the only modality, or is it just, yeah, or are there more?
One of the modalities that.
One of the modalities where a proposition can be possible in, but it's not possible in the logical modality.
Yeah, I think there's a contrast there. Now, specifically, what I was talking about earlier that I think piqued your interest in this particular part of the conversation is when I said that I think there are a couple metrics in which you could quantify the scope of, or yeah, like the size of a modal scope.
Okay, so yeah, so just elaborate on that. Just talk about the size of the epistemic modal scope versus the logical modal scope. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I've never like studied. I don't know if there's like formal ways to label the metrics to quantify the scopes or the size of the scopes, but um, if I were to be, I could the best way I could do it is like point to the examples earlier, where I believe that 1 + 1 = 2. I believe that's logically necessary, and then there's an epistemic scope that I take to be larger than that I have access to. Now, in reality, like regardless of my attitudes or beliefs, I take it to be the case that the logical scope is broader than that. But as far as my understanding of the logical modality, that's smaller than my epistemic domain, and
Okay.
vicariously my epistemic modality.
Okay. So maybe we could just walk through the distinction on what it means for something to be logically possible, and then would you just say epistemically possible?
I said I kind of don't want to, but if you really want to, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the reason I want to is because I think that that the treatment there was unfair, and I actually think that you're wrong about this. So that's why I'm interested in doing this.
Yeah,
You wanting to continue doing this against Lucario's will is more evidence towards the hypothesis that you lack social awareness.
Kill yourself.
But then I don't hold. First of all, I don't hold the view that there are propositions true in given modalities that are
Well, I mean,
epistemic.
I have a preference not to, but like it's actually logically possible that I'm wrong about my preferences. So let's go about it.
Okay, I just want to explain why I'm continuing having this conversation, and then we can just have it. So the
Yeah,
reason I'm
I
adamant
just
at
stop, but
continuing the
whatever.
conversation
Yeah,
is because it could have been the case you made like a really dumb. It
no,
could have been the
you
case
don't
that
get
you made.
no, you don't get meta privileges. No, you don't get meta privileges like me and axew. Meta privileges are for people who have social key awareness. You don't have those, so no meta privileges for you. Stick to the substance.
Sure. What's the argument that propositions can be true in a given modality? Sorry, propositions can be possible in a given modality, but not possible in the logical modality. What's the argument for that?
What's the argument? Holy
Yeah.
shit.
What's the argument for the proposition that you made, dumb fuck? Yeah. What's the argument?
Can you repeat the proposition that I made?
Yeah, that there are modal scopes in which propositions are possible in, but they're impossible in the logical modality.
Holy shit. I said that they could be not possible as far as my understanding of the modal of the logical modality. Now, I believe that outside of my epistemic domain, I think that there is a system called modality, and I think there is a logical system within that modality that is far beyond my epistemic domain. But within my epistemic domain, I have an understanding of it, and in that it's within that understanding of the logical modality, that's where my epistemic domain is broader than, and vicariously the epistemic modality. Like my epistemic modality is broader than my understanding of the logical modality. But in reality, it's broader than that.
I'm afraid that does not answer Leo's question. I think what Leo was asking is how we can, say something that is epistemically possible, but not logically possible.
Yeah, the question he's asking for he's asking a causal explanation on something that I don't even agree with.
So I might crush out. You made the assertion that a proposition was epistemically possible, but not logically possible. Now it turns out you're saying you're not even justified in the belief that there can be. Are you justified in the belief that there can be propositions true in an epistemic modality? Sorry, propositions possible in an epistemic modality, but impossible in a logical modality. First of all, I know you hold the belief. Are you justified in that belief?
What do you mean by justification?
Yeah, that sounds mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what an epistemic modality is?
Like,
I mean,
if you were to give your best articulation of epistemic modality, what would that look like?
Yeah, the issue is I think it's defined in terms of logical modality.
It's
just
things
that are logical. Okay. It's just things that are logically possible. It's just things that are possible with respect to your beliefs or things that you know.
Yeah.
And the word possible there is fucking logical modality, by the way. So it's obviously included within logical modality. So it's just a major blunder when you said that there are propositions possible in an epistemic domain, but impossible in a logical domain. That was just the most retarded thing ever because epistemic modality is just defined in terms of logical modality. Like, that was just so embarrassing.
No, wait, you think epistemic modality is defined in terms of logical modality, right?
Yes, I think that the word possible there is a logical logical modality term. When someone says it's possible, when someone says it's possible given my beliefs, the word possible there, that's just talking about logical possibility. That's how I understand logical modality. I have a similar approach to like deontologic.
Well, it's almost like that gets me to the exact answer that I gave you initially, where I said it's logically impossible given my beliefs. Wow.
No, retard. You said it's logically possible that your beliefs could be false, but also you said it's epistemically possible your beliefs could be false, but logically impossible that your beliefs could be false. So you're saying that there are propositions that are possible in a non-logical modality, but they're impossible in a logical modality. And I asked you for the argument that that's the case, and you're not providing a fucking argument for that.
Leo,
It's
do
just so
you think
annoying.
it's Leo? Do you think it's possible that you misunderstood mathematical formulas?
What do you mean by possible?
Do you
Logically
think
possible? Do I think it's logically possible that I misunderstand 2 + 2 = 4? No.
Yeah. Oh wait, it's logically
Yo.
okay.
Well, that's just to say that it's. Well, hold on. Yeah, obviously that's not logically possible.
Yeah. So you
That's
think
just to say it's logically
You
possible.
think
That's just
it's
to say.
Well, not. Well, I didn't ask about 1 + 1 = 4 specifically. I was just talking about general mathematical formulas. So I'll
I'm
just
not
give
interested in
the
that
example.
conversation.
Stop. Well, I know you're
I'm
not
not
interested.
interested in that
Stop.
conversation because we were specifically talking about obvious
Stop.
mathematical truths.
Okay, just stop interjecting. Okay, you're annoying. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you a mathematical truth that is necessary. 569 multiplied by 894 equates to 508,686. Do you think that's necessary, Leo? You can type in chat.
Yo, mod abuse?
Actually, anyways, you can verbally do it, but I realized I was gonna say that you can type in chat, but I kind of remembered you're kind of slow, so that would take even more time.
That's fucking crazy.
Are you done with the calculator?
Okay. So again, I'm
Okay.
interested in talking about stop. I'm interested in talking about 1 + 1 = 2, since you said it's since you said it's epistemically possible
Stop
that your
evading the
belief is
question.
false.
Stop
I'm not
evading the
interested in answering the question. It's not fucking.
Okay, well, you're just gonna stay on mute until you give an answer to the question. Read. Oh, I shouldn't. Guys, I'm not ableist, I swear. It's not relevant. It's not relevant.
Yo, why are you doing Leo like that, bro?
It'd be stupid.
Well, because if what Lucario is saying lands, he's gonna like show a case in which someone believes that something is logically necessary, but that belief is formed by a like malpractice or a misunderstanding of some formula.
Yeah, you're.
Which is all
That's
which is
normal.
all that's meant when he's saying that it's possible under an epistemic modality.
Come on, bro. It's Leo.
Fucking idiot.
He's
Like,
nice, bro. Come on, unmute him.
so it is relevant. It is relevant. Leo's just like not tracking this conversation very well.
I think they're actually like when someone's nice, that gives them more charitability. Like if someone's nice, I'll allow them to be like the degree stupid before I have to like mute them or sort of disrespect or get rhetorical with them. And I agree, Leo generally like I will say Leo is very, very nice. And so that just increases the level, like that just really, really increases the threshold of stupidity that he would have to have for me to treat him like this. Leo, you were really stupid.
Come on, bro. He's smart. Don't do him like that. Maybe just explain how it's relevant, and then let him talk after that.
It's already been explained. He's not gonna understand it. He's like a bumbling monkey.
Well, I think he's really confused about credences and justification and probably epistemology in general and modal logic, and that's become very apparent through this conversation.
Wouldn't it be better to just help him understand it then?
We've tried.
Yeah, at a certain point you have to like just give up on the. I was gonna say something ableist. Wait, you have to give up on the.
Don't say something racist.
I just
Okay,
want
Leo.
premise 1 and premise 2 for the argument that there are statements that are possible in an epistemic modality but impossible in a logical modality. Just give the argument.
Well, premise 1, you're stupid. Premise 2, if you're stupid,
You're just bad faith. Like you're actually just bad faith.
Thanks for telling me that, Leo.
That was an implication of what you said. Obviously, I just want the argument for it.
It's not obvious. You're stupid.
Why can't you give an argument for it? Do you have autism or something?
I didn't say that I can't.
Then give the argument.
No, I don't want to.
Give the argument for the proposition that you affirm. And the proposition,
I'm not going to.
Dude,
It would be a waste
the
of
thing
energy.
that we were the thing that you
Leo,
clowned me on.
You're a waste of energy.
The thing that you clowned me on for not understanding is the proposition that you're unwilling to defend. You think that's a good look? Imagine clowning someone on something and then not even be able to defend the proposition.
You said you could debate.
That's so
I
fucking
admitted you said
retarded.
you could debate axew. Do you still want to just like bark at me?
Yeah, I want to debate axew. Yeah, wait, axew, do you hold the belief that Lucario holds there? that there are
Yeah,
statements.
but I'm not gonna make a formal argument for you for it.
Are you not? Oh, okay, you don't have to. Yeah, just give an argument for it. Wait, and just to be
Yeah.
clear, could you just reproduce the proposition I'm asking for an argument for?
You got this,
Yeah,
Leo.
that is not possible under a logical modality, impossible under an epistemic modality. All that's meant by that is that when we're going through the steps of like, obtaining some piece of like knowledge or some necessary truth, it's possible in a logical modality that we mess up along the way and then we form the false belief that something is necessary when it's not, right? And that's all that's meant by that.
So then,
There's actually another notion. I actually do want to. There's actually
Wait.
another notion of like epistemic modality, which is like, unironically, just like it's kind of like a coherence theory of truth, except all like the elements are just your beliefs. There's that sense, but I'm not talking about that particular one.
Okay. Just give the proposition that you say is epistemically possible but logically impossible, just for clarity.
Yeah, it was the proposition that Lucario articulated earlier. Let's just say 2 + 2 = 4. Or 2 + 2 = 5 is logically impossible, but epistemically possible.
Okay, and when you say it's epistemically possible, what do you mean by that?
All that's meant by that is that it's logically possible that, through the steps that you go through to get to the conclusion that 2 + 2 = 4 or 2 + 2 = 5, you've done something, wrong, right? Or done something wrong along that way, such that, it's not actually conforming to like a logical modality, right? Like a broader logical modality.
Okay, I want to try to steelman this. So, when you're saying that it's epistemically possible that, you're saying it's epistemically possible that 2 + 2 = 5, which is just to say that it's logically possible that you have a false belief, correct?
Yes, yes. That's
You're
yes.
aware that to say that it's logically possible you have a false belief is also to say that it's logically possible the proposition is false, right?
Yeah, sure. Like,
Okay, and
in
now
like
you're
a
just saying
trivial
it's and
sense.
and now you're just saying it's logically. Now you're just saying it's also logically possible. So notice how that didn't actually achieve the task I was asking, right? So the task I was asking you to perform was to give a proposition that's epistemically possible and logically
You look
impossible.
so
But
good
now it
right now.
just turns
Leo,
out.
you look really good right now. I just want to tell you. You
Now
look
it
really
just
good.
turns out. Stop over talking me. Now it just turns out that the proposition is actually logically possible. Am I understanding you?
Logically possible under the broader like logical domain, right? Not logically possible under that person's epistemic domain.
What? I'm asking if it's
Yeah.
logically possible. Wait, so it is logically
Okay.
possible. I'm gonna kill myself.
Okay.
Bro,
We're gonna need to distinct some elements here, right? Like, okay, so we have the logical modality that exists in the world, right? A broader logical modality that Lucario was touching on earlier. We have our understanding of our logical modality, or that broader logical modality, which is indexed to our epistemic modality, right? And all Lucario is saying when he says that it's possible, right, is that, indexed to this like logical modality, and there shouldn't be an issue here with saying that that's circular. I don't think that's an issue given like the circularity of logic, right? That, within his understanding of like this logical modality, and let's just like scope this to maybe like a, mathematics, right? Within like his epistemic understanding of mathematics, it's possible that through, and we'll say like, the explanation for this is through some series of missteps,
Mhm.
that like he's false in the sense that it doesn't conform to this broader logical modality, but maybe we could say that it's not false in the sense that it does conform to the, his understanding of logical modality or, mathematical truths.
I don't wait. What's the distinction between his understanding of logical modality and logical modality?
That I could be
That's not-
wrong about. Like my understanding of logical modality might be completely off.
Yeah, like what if he's mistaken, like has a mistaken understanding of like the axioms, for instance.
Yeah, like
That's
so,
just
like
to say it's
unironically,
wait, when you say
unironically, sometimes I go back and forth on certain axioms that I would accept in
yeah,
logical modality.
let's just talk about like law of non-contradiction. Are you
Oh
saying
yeah, let's just isolate it to something that doesn't involve some of those controversial things that would actually lend credence to the idea that you could be wrong about logical. Let's do that. Let's throw yourself a really softball. Good job, Leo.
yeah? So when you say that something is logically possible, Wait, sorry. When you're saying it's possible that you misunderstood. Are you saying? Do you think it's possible that you misunderstood the law of non-contradiction? Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay. And when you say it's possible, there, are you saying it's logically possible you misunderstood it?
Wait, I answered one of your questions. Let's go back. Let's go back.
Are
Question for
you
question.
saying it's logically possible or
Stop.
epistemically possible?
Wait. Let's go question for
Why
question.
did you even interject?
Yeah, shut up, idiot. Is it logically possible that you misunderstood? Let's go with a good example, like the KT axiom. Is it logically possible that you misunderstood KT in conjunction with KB?
I'm agnostic on that. I'm not interested in that.
Oh
What
my
I'm
god.
interested in are propositions like 1 + 1
Wait, so
equals.
you don't even know what logical modality is.
Stop over talking me.
So you don't even
I
have
understand
an exhaustive concept of logical modality.
Wait, you think
Yeah, no,
when I understand logical modality?
no, you don't.
to
No,
be
you don't, because those are the
possible.
axioms that give rise to logical modality. You absolute fucking moron. Holy
Okay.
shit.
You're
I
like
just
beyond
understand.
stupid at this point.
All I understand something being
I
logically
hope no, Leo,
Please stop over
unironically,
talking.
hold on, Leo, I need you to stop talking, right? Because I really, really hope that you go back and you watch maybe some videos on logic, read some papers, and then you watch this video and like see how fucking stupid this conversation is.
Okay. When I say that something's logically possible, all I mean is that there's no contradiction entailed. That's what I mean when I say something's logically possible. That's what most people mean when they say. Do you deny that? Do you think that's not what most people say when they say something's logically impossible?
Do you like lack social awareness? Do you think that we actually ever said that that wasn't the case?
No, I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, obviously, obviously we don't think that's the case.
This
Like
is
obviously we
unironically.
agree.
This is like
You don't
asking.
think
This
it's
is like a
wait?
questioning. Wait,
Hold on,
let's
nope, you're
Oh my
confused.
god!
You're already
You just have
confused.
two
No, we
retards.
agree. We
Yeah,
agree that that's what most people mean by logically possible.
I'm sorry, but like unironically, this is like the responsible. Like you kind of start to question, hey, maybe dialectism is true, or is it possible that there's a true contradiction? And then some autist in the background. Well, sorry, that was ableist. Some ignorant individual, some poor ignorant individual in the background is just like, it's not possible that dialectism is true by definition.
Right, exactly,
It's like
exactly,
unironically the same thing.
exactly.
Embarrassing.
Okay, so when you say it's something, wait, are you saying that you disagree that something being logically possible means that doesn't entail a contradiction? Are you saying you disagree with that, or do you agree with it?
Wait, no, I think we agree. No. Okay. Yeah, I would probably agree that what it means to be logically possible is for something to not have like a contradiction. That's fine. And I already agree that that's what most people mean when they say
Sure.
that. That's fine.
Okay. And what it means for wait, can something be epistemically possible and have a contradiction?
I mean, no, not
Oh,
really, but like,
okay.
not like
Okay.
trivially, yes, in the sense that it can be a contradiction with regards to the, as I said, the larger like logical scope, outside of our understanding of like logical modality. For instance, maybe someone has like a better formed like logical system in which they're able to prove that, um, operating under like our belief sets would result in contradiction. But of course, like when we're reporting on our own psychology and we believe that these things are consistent, we're just reporting on like our epistemic domain and not that like larger like or broader logical modality.
Sure. Okay. So wait, so you do. So what you're saying? It seems like what you're saying is that it is the case that it's not. Um, sorry, it's not the case that epistemically possible propositions can have contradictions, but it. That's what you're saying, right? One
Yeah,
of the
it's
things
not
you're saying.
logically possible that they can have contradictions, no.
Okay.
But one, like, just so you know, that's just me
Is
reporting on my
is there
epistemology and my
is there a
epistemological
sense
domain.
is there a sense of possibility such that something can be epistemically possible and also have a contradiction? And if so, what's that sense of possibility?
The
Yeah,
possibility.
the possibility in the sense that index to someone's epistemic domain in their own like understanding of logic, it can be possible under that system, but maybe they just have like a very like misunderstood system of logic. For instance, maybe they're a dialectist, and then someone who holds like some superior like logical system is able to prove that like entails a contradiction. But within their domain and their understanding of logic, of course, they're not going to report that it like contains a contradiction, because they're going to see it as consistent.
Sorry, maybe yes or no answers are just more productive. Maybe I just kind of got lost on the answer there. Yes or no? Is there a sense of possibility in which epistemically possible statements can have a logical contradiction? Just yes or no.
Index to what?
What do you mean?
Well, yeah, I would just answer yes. Like, if you're saying it's logically possible that epistemically there are epistemically like conflicting claims, then sure, or conflicting beliefs, then sure.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, is it logically? Well, I don't want to say logically possible because then the answer is trivially no. I'm just saying, is there a sense of possibility?
No. It actually isn't trivially no, because when we're reporting on when we're talking about epistemic domains, we're talking about like actually, unironically, that's like asking, is it possible for someone to hold that there are true contradictions?
Like there's a contradiction in the epistemic in their respective epistemic domain.
Exactly.
Of course, it's possible for
they believe
someone
in
to.
like a vulture.
Okay. Then you've answered your question. Yes, it
That's
is
not
possible.
the question. That's not the fucking
Yes,
question I'm asking.
that implies like an
No,
answer
that's not
to
the
your
question I'm
question.
asking you.
No,
I'm
he's
not asking that question.
getting like all rhetorical. That's not the fucking question. Just calm down there, buddy.
The question was whether it's possible there are contradictions in someone's like logically possible there are contradictions in someone's epistemic domain. Literally,
No,
all I need to do.
That's not what
That
I'm
is,
asking you.
I cannot wait to see this recording.
What I'm asking you is
Alright,
is it possible?
Oh, you got muted. Leo, like, have you ever asked yourself, could there be a true contradiction? Have you just type yes or no in the chat? Have you ever asked yourself that? You've never like thought to yourself, oh damn, it's actually possible that there could be a contradiction. Or like even I don't even need to go into that. You could just ask yourself, is it possible that there are contradictions? And you genuinely ask yourself that question.
And
The term is kind of ambiguous there. Wow, no shit.
Guys, take a
well,
break,
no,
bro.
yeah, it's ambiguous when you don't understand epistemic domain. Like, yes, it's possible under the epistemic domain, because all. Holy
even
shit.
even for me, like I'll actually start something. Even for me, the term is pretty ambiguous because I haven't explored like paraconsistent logics. Like I haven't like explored them as like fleshed out as I have like classical logics. And even then, even with regular classical logics, I haven't explored them exhaustively or even close to where I would feel comfortable to even sort of move on or make confident claims.
Maybe I'll just put it this way: when we say that something's epistemically possible, the word "possible" there is just.
Yeah, I don't know why you started talking. You're on mute again, by the way. But I need you to answer that.
Guys, bro, be easy. Aggressive.
Like, have you ever asked yourself that question? And the semantics of the term "possible" there, they don't matter. You can say that they are ambiguous, but that's just to say that it was very ambiguous when you asked yourself the question. Something with the same syntax or very, very similar syntax, and you could leave the semantics variable with respect to that particular term "possible." Just answer the question. Sure. Oh, really? Wow. Here, you can talk now.
Now, let's get back on topic. So, basically, we understand that something to be epistemically possible, that's just to say that it's logically possible, and the reason for this is that epistemically possible is cashed out.
Sorry, you got muted, but like only because that's on me. Only because I like mid-sentence I changed my mind and letting you talk. I had another question. Okay, now if you grant that, you asked yourself that question, there's a modality there when you said, oh, is it possible that there are true contradictions? Do you not think that the sense in which you asked that question, the sense in which you invoked the term possible when you asked yourself that question and you said, sure, I have asked myself that question, do you not think that it's broader than classical logic? And that's going to be yes or no. Do you think it was broader, or do you think it was smaller, like more narrow than logical modality? Sure. Oh,
Sure.
wow. Wow. So it's almost like there are modalities that are somehow bigger than logical modality. Wow.
Now, what modality do you think you were invoking there?
Maybe some type of, I guess, some type of possibility with respect to like pair consistent logic.
Oh my god. Oh my
But
god.
epistemic modality is a modal logic,
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
and modal logics are like logical modality. Like they're covered in logical modality. Like
But you agree that epistemic modality, even in like the strict, let's take the strict epistemic modality, where it's just sort of like a coherence with your beliefs. That one's covered in modal logic, and that one can be covered in just a regular, like it can be within a regular logical modality. Even if you
I
just
imagine
take
it can be applied to pair-consistent logics as well.
yeah, that's what I
no,
was getting at.
that's
You
not
could
how
have
that's not how I understand epistemic modality, and I don't think that's how anyone understands epistemic modality.
You don't understand epistemic modality. You don't even understand modalities. You made that clear by not understanding like
you
modal
think that
logic axioms
you
earlier.
understand that when someone says epistemic modality is just talking about what's possible and necessary with respect to beliefs and knowledge, the word possible there is talking about logical possibility. Like that's so fucking obvious. So obvious, it's just trivially true that if something's epistemically possible, it's logically possible. Now, if you're using some idiosyncratic sense of epistemic modality, such that it's compatible with pair-consistent logic, maybe you're like really autistic and you weren't able to specify that. But just
yeah, you're getting meter for the ableism, man. Like, come on, chill out on the ableism, man. At least put some effort. Come on, bro. But anyways, I was gonna say, it would also be, I think it would clarify, it would help clarify if we just separate like an epistemic domain that someone has, and then epistemic modality, which is
Yeah, I
like,
was actually going to bring that up as well.
okay, yeah, so let's do that. And so you would have that, and then I guess my critique for you, or I guess my question for you, Leo, is that do you not think that someone who believes in pair-consistent logic, or someone who believes in dialetheism specifically, do you not think that they have an epistemic modality? Like, do you think epistemic modality just isn't a thing for them?
obviously not in the sense that epistemic modality is typically used in. That's obviously true. It's literally a modal logic. Are you guys retarded?
Yo, you gotta chill out on the slurs, man. Like, come on.
Like,
okay, here. Wait, did you ask if you think the dialetheists have epistemic domains or epistemic modalities?
Epistemic modalities specifically.
not in the sense that it's typically used in. Maybe there's some other sense. Sure,
Yeah,
but
but okay, yeah, but
look,
you
I
agree
was
that
just presupposing that you
there's a
weren't
relation.
using
Yeah, but you agree that
idiosyncratic
there's a relation.
language.
Yeah, but you agree that there's a relation of possible and necessity within the epistemic modalities, and those epistemic modalities might not conform to classical logic, right?
But that's not epistemic modality as it's typically defined. I just want to make that clear.
But you agree that they
You
have
should
an
have just
epistemic modality.
specified. You should have just specified that.
I could wait again. You lacking on social cue awareness.
Wait, that's not me lacking on social cue awareness. You should have clarified that you weren't talking about how epistemic modality is typically talked about as like a modal logic. You should have just clarified that. And then none of this would have happened.
The reason why I didn't clarify that is because we didn't even get to this point. Even if we stipulated that classical logic, even if we just restricted it to classical logic, that still conforms to epistemic humility. Like, do you grant? Do you at least? I'm hoping. Do you at least grant epistemic humility?
Sorry, wait. So you're saying that? Sorry, just repeat the question real quick. What do you mean by epistemic humility?
Do you know? Do you know what epistemic humility is?
I don't think a question is answering that question.
I just want to know. I just want. I want clarity.
I'm aware of what you want. I want you to answer the question I asked you now.
Okay, so
what
no,
do you
you
mean
don't
by
know what
epistemic
epistemic
humility?
is.
Stop. What do you mean by epistemic humility?
So you don't know what it is.
What do you mean by epistemic humility? Stop dodging the question.
What I mean by epistemic humility is the way that it's standardly defined in the literature.
Which is what? And what do you think that is? What do you think that is?
I've actually never seen that term in literature, but I'm just gonna make like maybe an inductive case here and think that hold on, shut up. The epistemic humility probably relates to a concept in which we don't extend or maybe we go like we are careful in our processes with regards to justified beliefs, perhaps.
Yeah, it's just pretty much acknowledging that the possibility of your beliefs being false.
And by possibility, you mean what?
What do you think?
Obviously, not using it in a logical sense, which explains the fact that
No, it is in a logical sense. It is logically possible that your epistemic beliefs are inconsistent.
Yeah.
wait,
But you
not
just wouldn't have
what?
you just wouldn't have access. You wouldn't have access to
Wait,
things
it's obviously not logically possible that like the law of non-contradiction could be false.
Yeah, in the way that we understand it, but you agree that even
Wait. Obviously,
even
that's
fucking hold on. Even fucking Detroyer was actually confused on the law of non-contradiction. I'm not saying that he's wrong for that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that if Detroyer of all people could be very very confused about the law of identity, then yeah, I think I have pretty high credence that I'm like very confused on the law of identity and the law
wait.
of
Do you think
non-contradiction.
you think it's logically possible that the law of non that your belief in the law that your belief in the law of non-contradiction being true could be false? Do you think that's logically possible that it could be false? That belief?
Yeah.
You think it's logically? Let's just say it's logically possible the law of non-contradiction is false. Wait, do you affirm that proposition?
No.
Wait, okay.
Like
So just
I
to be
agree.
clear.
Listen, stop.
Oh,
I
now
agree.
you're spurting up.
Like
This is
stop.
so convenient.
I
It's
agree.
another Lucario spur.
I agree that stop. That sounds contradictory to an idiot like you. But with respect to my beliefs, I believe that my understanding of the law of identity, I believe that is objective, and I believe that it's necessary. Could I be false about that belief? Could I be incorrect about that belief? Yes, because I used to believe that other things were logically necessary. Unironically, I used to believe that God was logically necessary, and turns out I was wrong about that belief. I'm not gonna go back to the person who let's go back to the Lucario who was 16 and thought that God wasn't logically necessary. I'm not gonna go back to him and think if he said, "Well, I could be wrong about that," and just mumble in his ear, but so you don't believe that he's necessary?
So, Lucario, you said that it's logically possible that my belief in the law of non-contradiction being true is false. You said that that's logically possible, right?
Access to the criteria that are
Okay.
would be enough to raise the credences such that they would there would be a logical contradiction if the belief was false. I don't have access to that criteria because of epistemic humility and other basic concepts in modal logic that you're just not familiar with because you're an idiot.
Now I'm just gonna type this out for you because I know you're kind of bad at tracking audio. So
I don't think the rhetoric's working.
Yeah, it's not hitting. But Leo, do you think that Leo, do you think
here we
that
go.
you possibly
Okay.
do you think
So
that
do you affirm the conditional statement?
Yeah, let's go question for question. I'll start first because I'm superior.
Of course, you're gonna start first.
Logic.
What a surprise! So, do you affirm the conditional statement? Yes or no?
When you put it in quotes, that's just a report to my epistemic domain. So
do you affirm the conditional statement? Yes or no?
No. Or okay, wait. If I affirm that the conditional statement, stop. If I confirm that the conditional statement, stop. If I confirm that the conditional statement is true, yes. Now the consequent, I don't grant that I don't grant its relation to the consequent. If the consequent is supposed to be outside of my epistemic domain.
So
now,
you do affirm
now
the
that we
conditional statement.
no, yeah, and remember since we're going.
Okay, and you also affirm the
Yeah,
antecedent, which means you affirm the consequent.
Yeah, we're going question for question, idiot. You said, of course you're going first. Anyways, Leo, is it possible that your understanding of the law of identity is flawed? And you're gonna type yes or no in the chat, because you're just too stupid to actually be trusted with a microphone. You're muted, by the way. You probably didn't pick up on that. What's the call? I'll repeat it for you one more time. Is it possible that your understanding of the law of identity is flawed? Or just inaccurate?
Same dude who said Lucario has trouble tracking voice a couple seconds ago, by the way.
Oh god. Okay, let's go with there's a couple of modalities that I kind of want to run on it, but let's start with the logical modality? Is there a logical contradiction in your understanding of the law of identity being flawed?
Oh my fucking god.
Yes. So you think it's necessary? It's necessarily true that your understanding of the law of identity is true. Now you can affirm that, and that'd be fine. But I take it to be that there's a broader sense of possibility, that accords to your epistemic domain, in which people like Detroyer should hold before talking to people like Mason, where he ends up, being inaccurate. Oh well, I guess this isn't like the best example because, from my understanding, it was more so about the formulations and not really the concept itself. But yeah. Wait, Leo, do you think that and you're just gonna type in chat now because you're Spurg? Wait, Spurg was ableist. You have a tendency to interrupt and go on long tangents and, try to do attempted rhetoric that fails horrendously. So you're gonna stay in the chat. But Leo, do you think it's like, do you think it's possible that you misread something in modal logic that led you to false beliefs?
Not rhetorical.
Or what's your question? And also, you gotta stop being ableist, man. Like, I gotta delete.
What? Lucario, have you made your decision about the nitro yet?
No. Oh wait, well, no is the answer to the question. I have made my decision, and the answer is no. I don't want nitro.
Okay.
But I appreciate it.
By the way, Quark is a cuck.
It's logically possible that my belief in the law of non-contradiction being true is false. Yep, because I don't have access to the criteria that would make it such that my credences are 100% that there would be a contradiction. Like, I believe there would be a contradiction, but I used to think that there was a contradiction in God not existing when I was like 16.
You were debating back then?
Yeah.
And you're like 22 now?
And I'm turning 23 soon. I'm kidding.
So you were around with the dinosaurs?
No, Jesus Christ. But no, unironically, I am turning 20 soon. In like 10 days. I'm not looking forward to it.
Damn, you're gonna be able to drink soon. Congratulations.
Yeah. But Leo, I can explain this to I think I've thought of a new way to break down the language for really, really stupid people. Well, I've already tried it, but I don't have access to the criteria that would make it such that I have full credence in the belief that there would be a contradiction. I believe that there would be a contradiction in 2 + 2 equaling 5, but my credences for that are not 100%, leaving a small amount of credences for the possibility. I'm going to suspend judgment, which, without affirming that there would be a contradiction, I just believe that it's possible. Now, I affirm there's a contradiction with maybe a 92% credence level. I think that was unironically, I think that was a really base way of explaining it to him.
And that was kind of difficult to track.
Okay.
I think even an idiot like Leo, I think even an idiot like you could have understood that.
I thought you were an ableist.
I don't know that he understands credences still.
Okay, yeah. I have a 92% credence to suggest that there would be a contradiction in 2 + 2 equaling 5. Now, is that credence 100% now? I think we're just gonna waste
just to be clear, Lucario doesn't actually hold a 92% credence towards that proposition being false.
Embarrassing.
I don't know, like 92% of the time I'm like, yeah, that's valid, but like another 8% I'm like, yo, does this actually add up? Let me double check. Can I give a close? No. And by you what an idiot.
I actually cannot wait to rewatch that debate. Although I think I like it's kind of hard not to like trivially like contradict yourself having that argument. But the claims that you're making are just indexed to different modalities, and he was not understanding that.
Yeah.
It's the same with myself as well, and I tried to make that clear multiple times because there's going to be some claims in that conversation that sound like contradictions, like on their face, but they're not when you index them to different modalities.
Yeah, like the first, like the very first sentence that I said that started the whole thing was just that I believe
Just to be
it's
clear, he texted me
logically.
saying he thinks it's logically possible for the law of non-contradiction to be false.
Thanks, Emma. But yeah, like the
Yeah, of
very
course.
first thing I said was like if you put this, if you use the same modality, and the very first sentence that I said, that's like a blatant contradiction. But if he for like 20 minutes he didn't understand that. He didn't understand I was using different modalities, and then for another like unfortunate, how's my internal clock? I'm gonna guess like 30 minutes. It was just like even worse.